Every year, the broadcast. The stars had always seemed peaceful to those who looked up at them from 1,000 different worlds. But on this day, the stars witnessed something that would change the galaxy forever. Emperor Valoth IX sat upon his throne made of black metal and ancient bone. His pale blue skin stretched tight over sharp features, and his 4 eyes glowed with cold satisfaction. Around him stood his advisors, generals, and priests. They all watched the massive screen that floated before them. On the screen was Keth 7. Keth 7 was a beautiful world once. Green forests covered its mountains. Blue oceans stretched between its continents. 10 billion people lived there. They were a simple species called the Kethrani. They had soft brown fur and gentle eyes. They were farmers, artists, and dreamers. They had never wanted war. But they had made one mistake. They had said no to the Valanthi Empire. When the Empire demanded 70% of their food production, the Kethrani refused. When the Empire demanded their young people for labor camps, the Kethrani refused again. They believed that the galaxy would protect them. They believed that some things were worth standing for. They were wrong. The Valanthi war fleet arrived on a Tuesday morning, Kethrani time. 1,000 ships blocked out the sun. The Kethrani looked up at the sky and knew that death had come for them. Emperor Valoth had given a simple order. Make an example. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who defy the Empire. The killing began at dawn. First came the orbital strikes. Bright lances of energy fell from the sky and turned cities into glass. Millions died in the first hour. The Kethrani had no warships, no shields, no weapons that could reach the fleet above. They could only run and hide and pray to gods who did not answer. But the Emperor wanted more than quick death. He wanted the galaxy to watch. He wanted them to see every moment, every scream, every tear. So he ordered the ground invasion. Valanthi soldiers marched through burning streets. They dragged families from their homes. They lined up children in public squares. The cameras recorded everything. Every planet in the Empire received the broadcast. Every species that had contact with the Valanthi could watch, and watch they did. On 100 worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes stared at their screens in horror. They saw mothers trying to shield their babies. They saw old people kneeling in the dirt, begging for mercy that never came. They saw young Kethrani warriors fighting back with farming tools and kitchen knives, dying by the thousands but refusing to stop. The broadcast continued for 72 hours. 72 hours of death. 72 hours of screaming. 72 hours that burned themselves into the memory of every species in the galaxy. Among those watching were the humans. Earth had joined the galactic community only 40 years ago. To the ancient empires, humans were children. Primitive apes who had barely learned to travel between stars. They were tolerated, sometimes pitied, often ignored. They had a few colony worlds, a small trade fleet, some minor diplomatic stations. Nothing that mattered. In the human embassy on the neutral world of Axios Prime, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before a screen. Her staff stood behind her. No one spoke. No one could speak. On the screen, a Valanthi soldier held up a Kethrani child by the neck. The child was crying, calling for its mother. The mother lay dead in the street behind them. The soldier looked directly at the camera and smiled. Then he activated his energy blade. Sarah Chen did not look away. None of the humans looked away. They watched every second. They recorded every frame. They noted every face, every ship number, every unit designation they could identify. When the 72 hours ended, the broadcast showed Emperor Valoth IX on his throne. He spread his forearms wide and addressed the galaxy. Let this be a lesson to all species who forget their place. The Valanthi Empire has ruled these stars for 10,000 years. We will rule for 10,000 more. Keth 7 thought they could resist us. Now Keth 7 is ash and bone. Their species exists no more. This is the price of defiance. He leaned forward and his 4 eyes seemed to look directly through the screen at everyone watching. Remember Keth 7. Remember what we are capable of, and remember your place. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, species reacted in different ways. Some sent angry diplomatic messages that the Empire ignored. Some held candlelight vigils that meant nothing. Some simply pretended they had not seen, because what could they do? The Empire was too powerful. No one could challenge them. No one expected the humans to do anything at all. At the embassy on Axios Prime, Ambassador Chen turned to her staff. Her face showed no expression. Her voice was steady and calm. Get me a direct line to Earth. Priority Alpha. Tell them we need to speak to the Council of Nations immediately. Ambassador, her aide asked carefully, what are we going to do? Chen looked back at the screen, now dark. She thought about the child. She thought about the mother. She thought about 10 billion people who had died for saying no. I don't know yet, she said, but humanity is going to do something. I promise you that. On Earth, the broadcast had been seen by everyone. For one day, all of humanity stopped. They stopped working. They stopped fighting each other. They stopped caring about their small problems and disagreements. They simply watched. When it was over, something changed. The leaders of Earth's nations met in emergency session. For the first time in human history, they did not argue. They did not negotiate. They did not play political games. They simply asked one question. What do we do now? The answer came from an old general named James Okonkwo. He had seen war. He had fought in the last great conflict on Earth decades ago. He knew what humanity was capable of, both good and bad. The Empire thinks we are weak, he said. They think we are primitive. They think we will do nothing because we cannot hurt them. He stood and looked at every leader in the room. They are wrong. They do not know what we are. They do not know what we have done to ourselves for 10,000 years. They do not know the weapons we have built, the wars we have fought, the horrors we have survived. His voice grew harder. 10 billion dead, 10 billion innocent people murdered for entertainment, broadcast to the galaxy so everyone would learn to fear. Well, I have learned something, but it is not fear. He walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Keth 7 cannot be saved. Those people are gone. But I swear on everything I have ever believed in, their murderers will answer for what they have done. The Empire will learn that there is one species in this galaxy they should have feared. One species they should never have shown what cruelty looks like. He turned back to the room. Because we wrote the book on cruelty, and if they want a war, we will show them things that will make Keth 7 look like a mercy. The room was silent. Then one by one, every leader nodded. Earth began to prepare. The quiet. Before 6 months passed after the death of Keth 7, the galaxy slowly forgot. Other news replaced the massacre. Trade deals were signed. Borders were negotiated. Life continued as it always had under the shadow of the Valanthi Empire. But in the halls of the Imperial Palace, some people had begun to notice strange things. Intelligence Chief Morath stood before Emperor Valoth IX with a data tablet in his three-fingered hands. His face showed confusion, and that was unusual. Morath was the best intelligence officer the Empire had ever produced. He did not get confused often. Speak, the Emperor commanded. Your Majesty, it concerns the humans. Valoth made a dismissive gesture with one of his forearms. The primitive apes? What could possibly be interesting about them? That is the problem, Your Majesty. I do not know. And that worries me. He activated the tablet and projected images into the air between them. 3 months ago, all human diplomats left their posts in the Galactic forums. They said they were recalled for administrative reasons. They never returned. The Emperor shrugged. Perhaps they finally understood their place. Perhaps they are hiding in fear. Perhaps, but then there is this. More images appeared. Human merchant ships have stopped traveling outside their territory. All of them. Their trade income has dropped to zero, yet their economy has not collapsed. In fact, our sources say it has grown stronger. How is that possible? Morath shook his head. We do not know, Your Majesty. Our spy satellites over Earth have been destroyed. Every drone we send disappears. Every agent we place goes silent. We are blind. Emperor Valoth sat up straighter on his throne. Are you telling me that these primitives have defeated Imperial intelligence? I am telling you that we cannot see what they are doing, but I have found something. He pulled up a final image. It was blurry, captured from the edge of human space. This was taken by a merchant ship 2 weeks ago. It shows Earth's largest orbital shipyard. The Emperor leaned forward. The image was hard to see clearly, but the shape was unmistakable. The shipyard was enormous. and it was surrounded by hundreds of ships under construction. "How many?" Veloth asked quietly. "We estimate their shipyard output has increased by 4,000%. They are building warships, Your Majesty. Many, many warships." For the first time since the broadcast, Emperor Veloth felt something cold touch his heart, but he pushed it away. He was the ruler of 10,000 worlds. He commanded the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. What could one small species do? Send Ambassador Zalith to their last diplomatic station. Tell him to deliver a warning. If they do not stand down, we will give them the same lesson we gave Keth 7. Morith bowed his head. "As you command, Your Majesty." Ambassador Zalith traveled to the edge of human space. There, floating in the darkness between stars, was humanity's last diplomatic station. It was a small structure, old and worn, nothing impressive. Zalith smiled as his shuttle approached. This would be easy. He was met in the docking bay by a single human. She was a woman of middle age with dark hair turning gray and eyes the color of deep water. Her uniform was simple and clean. She stood alone with no guards, no aides, no show of power. "I am Ambassador Zalith of the Valanthi Empire," he announced, spreading his arms in the traditional greeting of dominance. "I come with a message from Emperor Veloth Namarin himself." "I know who you are," the woman said. Her voice was calm and flat. "I am Commander Sarah Chen. I will hear your message." Zalith studied her. There was something in her eyes that made him uncomfortable. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something else. Something patient. "Your species has been acting strangely," Zalith said. "You have withdrawn from galactic affairs. You have built warships. The Emperor is concerned. He wishes to know your intentions." Chen said nothing. She simply waited. Zalith continued. "The Emperor is merciful. He offers humanity a choice. You have 6 months to surrender all military assets. You will dismantle your warships. You will open your borders to Imperial inspectors. You will submit to the Empire's authority." "And if we refuse?" Chen asked. "Then what happened to Keth 7 will happen to Earth. Your species will be erased from existence. Your worlds will burn. Your history will be forgotten. You will become another lesson for the galaxy." He expected fear. He expected pleading. He expected her to fall to her knees and beg for mercy. Instead, Commander Sarah Chen smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for something and had finally received it. "I have a message for your Emperor as well," she said. "Would you like to hear it?" Zalith was confused. "You dare to send a message to the Emperor?" "I do." Chen took a step closer. Despite being smaller than the Valanthi ambassador, she suddenly seemed much larger. "Tell him that humanity has heard his terms. Tell him that we have considered them carefully. And tell him this." Her smile faded. Her eyes grew cold. "We have been waiting for you to say that. We hoped you would give us a reason. We wanted to make sure the galaxy understood why we did what we are about to do. And now you have given us that reason?" Zalith took a step back without meaning to. "What are you talking about? What are you going to do?" "You showed us Keth 7, Chen said. "You showed us what the Empire does to those who resist. You thought it would teach us to submit. But you do not understand humanity. You do not know our history." She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "For 10,000 years, humans have been killing humans. We invented 100 ways to wage war. We built weapons that could crack the planet we were born on. We fought and died in numbers that would make your Emperor sick. And through all of it, we survived. We are still here." She turned back to face him. "The galaxy thinks we are primitives. Children playing with toys. But we are not children. We are survivors of 10,000 years of teaching ourselves how to kill. We tried to leave that behind when we joined the galactic community. We thought we could be peaceful." Her voice hardened. "You taught us otherwise. You showed us that peace is not possible while beings like your Emperor exist. You showed us that the galaxy will never be safe while the Valanthi Empire stands." Zalith was backing toward his shuttle now. His hearts were beating fast. "This is madness. You cannot win against the Empire. No one can." "Maybe," Chen said, "but we will try. And before we are done, your Empire will know what humanity is truly capable of. You wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson about fear. Now we will teach you one. She pointed toward his shuttle. Go back to your emperor. Tell him what I have said. Tell him humanity is coming, and tell him that we remember Keth 7. We remember every face, every scream, every child that died on his orders. We will remember until justice is done. Zalith fled to his shuttle. As he flew away, he looked back at the small station floating in the darkness. The commander still stood at the window, watching him go. For the first time in his long career, Ambassador Zalith was truly afraid. When he returned to the Imperial Palace and delivered his report, Emperor Veloth laughed. They think they can fight us? Then let them come. We will crush them like insects and broadcast their deaths to the galaxy. He gave the order to prepare the Third Fleet. 400 warships would travel to human space. They would destroy the first human colony they found. They would show these primitives the true power of the Empire. The Third Fleet departed 1 week later. They traveled through space with confidence and pride. They expected easy victory. They did not know that they were flying toward their death. First contact, combat. Admiral Vorthan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Vengeance. Around him, 400 warships of the Valanthi Third Fleet moved through space in perfect formation. Each ship was a marvel of Imperial engineering. Each crew was trained to perfection. This was the fist of the Empire, and it had never been defeated. Their target was a human colony called New Helsinki. Intelligence reports said it was a small world, mostly farmers and miners. Perhaps 3 million humans lived there. It would be an easy victory, a quick demonstration of Imperial power. Admiral, his sensor officer called out, "We are entering the system now." Vorthan smiled. "Good. Launch all fighters. Begin approach to the planet. I want this finished before evening meal." The fleet moved forward. New Helsinki appeared on their screens, a small blue and green world orbiting a yellow sun. Peaceful, quiet, helpless. Then the sensor officer spoke again. His voice was different now, confused and worried. "Admiral, I am detecting contacts, many contacts." "Human ships?" Vorthan asked. "How many?" There was a long pause. "Admiral, I am counting over 200 vessels. They are coming from behind the system's gas giant. They were hiding there." Vorthan frowned. 200 ships. That was more than intelligence had predicted. But still, Valanthi ships were superior. Their weapons were stronger. Their shields were better. Numbers alone meant nothing. "Continue approach," he ordered. "Launch all fighter wings. We will crush them with overwhelming force." The Valanthi fighters screamed out of their bays. Thousands of small craft formed attack patterns. The main fleet advanced in their traditional battle line, a wall of ships presenting maximum firepower to the enemy. The human fleet did not form a line. They did not advance in any pattern that Vorthan recognized. Instead, they scattered. Ships broke into small groups of 3 or 4. They moved fast, faster than any ships Vorthan had ever seen. They darted and weaved like insects. "What are they doing?" Vorthan asked. "That is no battle formation." His tactical officer shook his head. "I do not know, Admiral. They are not following any combat doctrine in our records." "Then they are fools. All ships, open fire." The Valanthi fleet unleashed its weapons. Brilliant beams of energy lanced across space. Plasma torpedoes streaked toward the human ships. Enough firepower to destroy moons, and hit almost nothing. The human ships were too fast, too unpredictable. They dodged and spun in ways that should have been impossible. The few shots that connected seemed to splash harmlessly against strange shields that flickered with rainbow light. Then the humans fired back. Vorthan had never seen weapons like these. Metal rods flew from human ships at speeds that defied belief. They punched through Valanthi shields like they were not there. They tore through armor like paper. 3 Valanthi cruisers exploded in the first 10 seconds. "What weapons are those?" Vorthan shouted. "Unknown, Admiral. Our shields are not stopping them. The projectiles are moving at nearly the speed of light." More explosions. More ships dying. The human vessels were everywhere now, slipping between the Valanthi formation, firing from impossible angles. They fought nothing like any species the Empire had ever encountered. They did not seek glory or honor. They did not posture or threaten. They simply killed with cold efficiency. And then something worse appeared on the sensors. Admiral, detecting new contacts, small, very small, thousands of them. Drones. Human drones. Each one no bigger than a fighter but moving with terrible purpose. They swarmed around Volanthi ships, attaching themselves to hulls, crawling toward weak points. When they exploded, they took pieces of ship with them. "Get them off us," Vorthan commanded. "Point defense, anti-fighter weapons, everything." But the drones were too many and too smart. They communicated with each other, sharing information, coordinating attacks. When one was destroyed, others took its place. They found every crack, every seam, every vulnerability in the Volanthi ships. The battle had been going for 3 minutes. Already 50 Volanthi ships were dead or dying. Vorthan could not believe what he was seeing. This was impossible. These were supposed to be primitives. These were supposed to be easy prey. Instead, his fleet was being slaughtered. A human ship swooped close to the Eternal Vengeance. It was small, angular, covered in strange flat panels that seemed to drink in light. Before Vorthan's gunners could track it, it fired something at his ship. Not the metal rods this time. Something that passed through the shields entirely. Alarms screamed. Power fluctuated. Systems failed. "What hit us?" Vorthan demanded. "Some kind of energy weapon. It passed through our shields like they were not there. Our reactor is damaged. We are losing power." The battle was only 7 minutes old. Half the Volanthi fleet was gone. Fighters were dying by the hundreds, unable to even engage the human ships that danced around them. The beautiful formation that Vorthan had been so proud of was now a scattered mess of burning wreckage. "Retreat," Vorthan ordered. His voice was hollow. "All ships retreat. Jump to hyperspace." But retreat was not easy. The human ships pursued, cutting down Volanthi vessels as they tried to spin up their jump drives. More explosions. More death. The Eternal Vengeance shuddered as another weapon struck it. "Admiral, jump drive is offline. We cannot escape." Vorthan looked at the main screen. His fleet, the mighty Third Fleet of the Volanthi Empire, was being destroyed around him. Ships that had conquered worlds were now burning coffins. Crews that had laughed at the humans were now screaming and dying. The last thing Admiral Vorthan saw was a human ship flying directly toward his bridge. It made no attempt to turn away. It simply accelerated and crashed through his viewport. The Battle of New Helsinki lasted 11 minutes and 14 seconds. Not a single Volanthi ship survived. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Recording satellites had captured everything. Every species with access to the Galactic network watched in stunned silence as the impossible happened. A primitive species considered worthless by the great powers had destroyed an Imperial battle fleet without losing a single ship. In the halls of power, on 100 worlds, leaders and generals asked the same question. Where did they learn to fight like that? 3 days after the battle, humanity broadcast their answer. General James Okonkwo appeared on every screen, every channel, every device in the galaxy. He stood in a simple uniform, his dark face stern and calm. Behind him was a flag with a blue sphere on white background, the united symbol of Earth. "I am General James Okonkwo of the United Earth Defense Force. I speak to all species in this galaxy. I speak especially to the Volanthi Empire." He paused. His eyes seemed to look directly at everyone watching. "You have asked how we learned to fight? This is a fair question. The galaxy knows us as a young species, primitives barely out of our cradle world. You thought us weak. You thought us helpless. You thought we would bow to the Empire like everyone else." His voice hardened. "You were wrong. We did not learn to fight from the galaxy. We learned from ourselves. For 10,000 years, humanity has made war upon humanity. We invented weapons that could kill millions in a single flash. We developed poisons that could end all life on our world. We fought in trenches filled with mud and blood. We burned cities and salted fields. We nearly destroyed ourselves, not once, but twice." He stepped closer to the camera. "We thought joining the galactic community meant leaving that behind. We thought we could become peaceful. We wanted to be peaceful. But you showed us Keth 7. You showed us that the galaxy is ruled by murderers who kill billions for entertainment. You taught us that our wars, our weapons, Our terrible knowledge might be needed one more time. General Okonkwo's face became stone. To the Valanthi Empire. You killed 10 billion innocent people and broadcast it to the galaxy. You thought it would make everyone afraid. It made us angry. Now we are coming, not to conquer, not to rule, but to ensure that what happened to Keth 7 never happens again. He stood straight and tall. We remember Verdun, where young men died in mud for inches of ground. We remember Stalingrad, where a city burned for months. We remember Hiroshima, where we learned what horrors we could create. We remember every war, every battle, every lesson written in human blood. His final words were quiet but clear. The Empire wanted to teach the galaxy about fear. Now humanity will teach the Empire about war. We are coming, and we remember Keth 7. The broadcast ended, the galaxy held its breath, and humanity began to march toward the stars. The tide turns. The war that followed changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about combat. Human fleets swept through Valanthi, space like storms. They did not move slowly, conquering system by system like traditional empires. They struck where they wanted, when they wanted, using tactics that no species had ever seen before. On the fortress world of Kral Prime, the Valanthi had built a defense network that was supposed to be unbreakable. Thousands of weapons platforms orbited the planet. 100 ships guarded every approach. The generals were confident. No enemy could reach the surface. They were wrong. The humans did not attack the defense network directly. Instead, they sent small ships that hid in asteroid fields. They waited for weeks, gathering information, learning patrol patterns, finding weaknesses. Then, in a single night, they struck. Not the platforms, not the ships. They targeted the communication satellites. When the defense network went blind, unable to coordinate, the human fleet appeared from nowhere. They had used the gravity of a nearby gas giant to hide their approach. By the time the Valanthi realized what was happening, the battle was already lost. The humans took Kral Prime in 4 hours, but it was what happened after that truly shocked the galaxy. The Valanthi expected death. They expected their cities to burn like Keth 7. They expected mass executions broadcast across the stars. That was what the Empire would have done. That was what conquerors did. Instead, the humans landed ground troops that surrounded military bases but did not attack civilians. They captured generals and governors but did not kill them. They broadcast a message to the people of Kral Prime. We are not here to destroy you. We are here to end the rule of your emperor. You have a choice. Reject the Empire, and we will protect you. Continue fighting, and we will return. But we will not murder your children. We will not burn your homes. We are not the Valanthi. Most of Kral Prime chose to surrender. The same pattern repeated across dozens of worlds. Humans struck military targets with terrible precision. They destroyed warships, weapon factories, and command centers. But they left farms standing. They left hospitals untouched. They gave conquered people a choice that the Empire had never offered. Join us or fight us. But either way, we will not become what we are fighting against. This confused the Valanthi terribly. In 10,000 years of conquest, no one had ever fought this way. War was about domination, about showing strength through destruction. What were the humans doing? Emperor Viloth IX raged in his palace. Fleet after fleet was sent to stop the human advance. The 5th Fleet was destroyed at the Battle of Xerxes Station. The 8th Fleet was ambushed in the Crimson Nebula. The legendary 1st Fleet, pride of the Empire, was torn apart trying to defend the industrial world of Valanthi Prime. Every time the humans faced a new weapon, they adapted. Energy shields that blocked their railguns? Within weeks, they developed weapons that passed through shields. Fighter tactics that countered their drones. They reprogrammed the drones overnight. Nothing the Empire tried worked for long. Intelligence Chief Morith stood before the Emperor with his final report. He looked older now, exhausted by failure. Your Majesty, I have studied everything we know about human history. I believe I understand now why we cannot defeat them. Speak, Veloth commanded. They have been fighting themselves for their entire existence. Not small conflicts, but massive wars that killed tens of millions. They develop new weapons constantly, not over centuries like we do, but over years, sometimes months. Every tactic we use, they have already seen. Every strategy we try, they have already tried against themselves. Morath shook his head slowly. They are not more advanced than us. They are simply better at war. It is all they have ever known. When they joined the Galactic community, they tried to forget this. They wanted to be peaceful, but we reminded them of what they truly are. The Emperor slammed his fist against his throne. There must be a way to stop them. There is one possibility, Your Majesty. Morath hesitated. The Sunbreaker. Silence fell over the throne room. The Sunbreaker was a legend, a weapon from the ancient wars that had first built the Empire. It could destroy stars. It had been used only once, 10,000 years ago, to end a rebellion that had threatened to tear the Empire apart. The Sunbreaker still exists? Vyloth asked. It has been hidden in the tomb worlds, Your Majesty, maintained by priests who have waited for a day when it might be needed again. If we deploy it against the human home system, we can destroy their star. Their homeworld, their colonies, everything within that system will be erased. The Emperor considered. Using the Sunbreaker would mean admitting that the humans were a true threat, not just primitives to be crushed. It would show weakness. But what choice did he have? Do it, he ordered. Gather what remains of our fleets. Escort the Sunbreaker to the human home system. Destroy their star. End this war. Morath bowed. As you command, Your Majesty. While the Empire prepared its ultimate weapon, other species watched and made their own choices. The Kathrani, an ancient race that had survived by staying neutral, sent a secret message to Earth. We wish to provide intelligence about Imperial fleet movements. The Empire has threatened us for centuries. We would see them fall. The Velis Collective, former servants of the Empire, staged uprisings on a dozen worlds. Human weapons began appearing in their hands, supplied through routes that the Empire could not trace. Even some Valanthi worlds began to refuse Imperial orders. Governors who had seen what the humans offered chose surrender over continued war. The Empire was crumbling from within. Commander Sarah Chen, now promoted to Admiral Chen, received reports from across the galaxy. She sat in her command center on Earth's orbital station, surrounded by screens showing the progress of the war. The Empire is gathering everything they have left, her aide reported. 2,000 ships. They are escorting something massive, something we have never seen before. Our spies say it is an ancient weapon called the Sunbreaker. Chen studied the data. A star killer. Yes, Admiral. Our analysts believe it can cause a star to go supernova. If they reach our system, I know. Chen stood and walked to the window. Earth floated below, blue and beautiful, home to 10 billion people. If the Sunbreaker fired, all of them would die. How long until they reach us? 3 weeks at their current speed. 3 weeks. Not much time to prepare for the end of everything, but humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived plagues that killed half their population. They had survived wars that burned cities to ash. They had survived their own nuclear weapons. They would survive this too, or die trying. Chen turned back to her staff. Send word to all fleet elements, every ship we have, every ally who will stand with us. I want them at Seoul in 2 weeks. We will meet the Empire at the edge of our home system. She looked at the image of the approaching enemy fleet. If they want to destroy our star, they will have to go through us first. And I promise you, that will be the hardest thing the Empire has ever tried to do. The final battle was coming. Humanity prepared to fight for its existence. Earth unleashes. The Sunbreaker was the largest thing humans had ever seen in space. It stretched for hundreds of kilometers, a mountain of ancient metal and forgotten technology. Its surface was covered with symbols in a language that no living Valanthi could read. At its center was a core of pure energy, contained by fields that had held stable for 10,000 years. When that energy was released, it would reach out and touch the heart of a star, and that star would die. 2,000 Valanthi warships escorted the ancient weapon. It was everything the Empire had left. Every ship that could fly, every crew that could fight, had been gathered for this final mission. Emperor Vyloth Nai himself traveled with the fleet, watching from his personal battleship. He wanted to see humanity's star explode. He wanted to watch their homeworld burn. How long until we reach firing range? The Emperor asked. 6 hours, Your Majesty. Veloth smiled with all four of his mouths. Soon this war will be over. Soon every species in the galaxy will remember why they fear the Empire. But as the Imperial fleet approached the Sol system, they found something waiting for them. The human home fleet had gathered at the edge of the system. Every warship Earth had built over the past year was there. Every ally who had joined their cause sent vessels. The Kathrani contributed their swift scout ships. The Velix Collective sent their heavy cruisers. Even species that had never fought before, species that had only watched the galaxy in fear, had sent whatever they could spare. Against 2,000 Velanthi ships, the combined fleet numbered 800. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity. She looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy. The Sunbreaker was in the center of the Velanthi formation, protected by rings of warships. "All ships report ready," her aide announced. Chen nodded. "Open a channel to the fleet." Her face appeared on every ship, human and alien alike. She spoke simply. "Everyone here knows what we face. If that weapon fires, our sun dies. Earth dies. Billions of people die. We cannot let that happen." She paused. "I will not lie to you. Many of us will not survive today, but if we fail, if we run, everything ends anyway. So we will not run. We will fight. We will throw everything we have at that weapon and its escorts, and we will trust that humanity, and all the species who stand with us, will find a way." She straightened. "For Keth 7, for every world the Empire has burned, for everyone who will live free if we win today, let's end this." The human fleet surged forward. The Battle of Sol was the largest space engagement in galactic history. Thousands of ships clashed in the darkness between worlds. Energy weapons painted the void with color. Explosions bloomed like flowers. Ships rammed each other in desperate fury. The humans fought like nothing the Empire had ever faced. They did not care about formation or doctrine. They cared only about reaching the Sunbreaker. Ships threw themselves against the escort fleet, dying by dozens to destroy single enemy vessels. Pilots flew their craft directly into Velanthi warships when their weapons failed. Drones swarmed in clouds so thick they blocked sensors. For every human ship that fell, 2 Velanthi ships died with it. But the Sunbreaker kept advancing. Its escorts were being stripped away, but it did not need them. It only needed to get close enough to fire. Emperor Veloth watched the battle from his battleship. Even he was impressed by the fury of the human assault. They were like wild animals, fighting without regard for their own lives. But it did not matter. The Sunbreaker was almost in range. 3 minutes until firing position, his weapons officer announced. Veloth prepared his victory speech. He would broadcast it to the galaxy the moment Earth's sun exploded. He would show them all what happened to those who defied the Empire. "Your Majesty!" The weapons officer's voice was suddenly afraid. "Something is wrong with the Sunbreaker." On the massive weapon, alarms were sounding. Deep within its ancient halls, systems that had been stable for 10,000 years were failing. Power fluctuations spread through the structure. The priests who maintained it ran in panic, trying to find the source of the problems. They found it in the central core chamber. 3 humans stood there. They wore black armor covered in strange devices. They had been hiding aboard the Sunbreaker for 3 weeks, ever since a small stealth ship had attached to the weapon's hull during a jump through hyperspace. They had waited, slept in shifts, eaten rations meant for months of isolation. They had waited for this moment. One of them, a woman with short gray hair and cold eyes, smiled at the Velanthi priests. "Hello," she said. "My name is Commander Sarah Chen. This is a recorded message. By the time you hear this, I am probably dead, fighting with the fleet outside. But before I left to command that fleet, I led this team onto your precious weapon." The recording continued as the priest watched in horror. "You thought you could fly to our home and destroy our star. You thought we would simply let you. But you do not understand humanity. We do not wait for death. We do not accept fate. We fight, even when it is hopeless, even when it costs us everything." The 3 humans on the ship raised their weapons. "Your Sunbreaker will not fire today. We have spent 3 weeks sabotaging every critical system. The core will overload in approximately 2 minutes. I suggest you run. Not that it will help." The recording ended. Emperor Veloth screamed commands at his crew. "Stop them! Deactivate the weapon! Do something!" But it was too late. The humans aboard the Sunbreaker had done their work too well. The ancient weapon, pride of the Empire, began to tear itself apart. The explosion was visible across the entire system. A ball of light brighter than the sun bloomed in the darkness. The shockwave destroyed dozens of Valanthi ships that were too close. The Emperor's battleship was thrown spinning, its shields failing, its hull cracking. In the human fleet, Chen watched the Sunbreaker die. She whispered a prayer for the 3 volunteers who had sacrificed themselves. They had known they would not survive. They had gone anyway. That was humanity. With the Sunbreaker destroyed, the remaining Valanthi fleet lost all will to fight. Ships began to surrender. Crews mutinied against officers who ordered continued battle. The Emperor's own guards turned against him as his battleship drifted powerless. By the time human marines boarded the Imperial vessel, Veloth 9 was alone, sitting on a broken throne in a ruined room. Commander Chen faced him. Her uniform was torn and bloody from the battle, but her eyes were clear. "It's over," she said. Veloth snarled. "Kill me then. Make a martyr of me. My people will never forget." Chen shook her head. "No, you will not die today. You will live. You will stand trial before the galaxy you terrorized for 10,000 years. Every species you conquered, every world you burned, will watch you answer for your crimes. That is worse than death for someone like you." She turned to leave, then paused. "By the way, Emperor, the strike team on the Sunbreaker, one of them survived. The explosion threw her clear, and our rescue ships found her. Her name is Lieutenant Amara Okonkwo. She is the daughter of General James Okonkwo, who died leading our fleet today." Chen smiled grimly. "She asked me to deliver a message to you. She said, 'Tell him humanity remembers. We always remember, and we never forgive those who hurt our family.'" She walked away, leaving the broken Emperor alone with his failure. The war was over. In the months that followed, the galaxy rebuilt. The Valanthi Empire crumbled, its worlds becoming free nations. A new coalition formed, with representatives from every species that had suffered under imperial rule. They asked humanity to lead them. The humans said no. Admiral Chen spoke to the first gathering of the new Galactic Council. She was old now, tired from years of war, but her voice was still strong. "We did not fight this war to become the next empire. We fought because 10 billion innocent people died while the galaxy watched. We fought because someone had to stand up. But ruling is not why humanity exists." She looked at the representatives from 100 different species. "We want partners, not subjects. We want friends, not servants. Help us build something better. A galaxy where no one species dominates all others. Where no more worlds burn while others watch in silence. Where the strong protect the weak instead of destroying them." The council agreed. A new era began. Deep in the archives of Earth's military command, sealed files remained untouched. The contingency plans, the weapons that had never been used. The strategies that were too terrible for anything but the end of everything. Humanity hoped they would never need them again, but they kept them anyway, just in case, because humanity remembered what the galaxy had shown them. They remembered that peace lasted only as long as the strength to defend it. They remembered Keth 7. They remembered every battle, every sacrifice, every name of those who had given everything. They remembered, and they always would. On a small monument orbiting Earth, a simple plaque carried words that every human child learned. They showed us their worst. We showed them our best. Never forget. Never again. The stars shone on, peaceful now, watched over by a species that had learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes to protect what you love, you must become what you fear. And sometimes, after the fighting is done, you can choose to become something better. Humanity had made that choice. The galaxy would never be the same. The end.